9/11 affected so many people here in this area. We lost, I think, 17 people. The impact was horrible, especially those funerals. We were very fortunate to have Ray Donovan, who has been very close to the Sister Servants of Jesus and the Shrine of St. Joseph for many years. He and his company were one of the people who did the salvage work and the recovery work. And we were able to get 2 beams from the World Trade Center, the 34th and 35th floors. And we took the bells from the closed seminary of the Missionary Servants of the Most Holy Trinity and put them together to create the tower. The Tower of Remembrance was finally built a year later, and on the walls were all the names of everyone that died, not just in New York City, but in Pennsylvania and the Pentagon. The tower bells ring every day. They ring 14 minutes before the hour when the first plane hit. In anticipation of our 9/11 ceremony this year, we decided to do a week of peace-building programs based on reconciliation, healing, and forgiveness. On Monday night, we gathered to listen to 2 people tell their stories of personal tragedy and trauma and discuss with them how one learns to deal with the grief. The first speaker, Colleen Kelly, founded 9/11 Families for Peaceful Tomorrows, and she shared with us the story about the loss of her brother and the impact that made on her life.
I remember saying to him, well, yeah, I'm really struggling with forgiving Bill's murderers. And he looked at me and he said, you can't forgive Bill's murderers. And I was kind of taken aback, And I said, well, what do you mean, Father? And he said, only Bill can forgive the people who murdered him. The only thing you have the power to forgive is how the loss of your brother has affected your life. So I thought about that, and this giant weight got lifted off my shoulders because I didn't have to forgive Bill's murderers in the way that I had been thinking about forgiveness. Forgiveness has a power, but it also has a power that can be misconstrued, and I was really in the wrong place about the notion of forgiveness.
We also invited Georgette Delanois, who leads the Northeast Division of the Haiti Solitarian Network. She talked about a series of workshops that she has conducted in Haiti to help victims of genocide deal with their traumatic experiences.
Because what we wanted to do is to really give them an opportunity to come together, tell their stories, to come together and really talk about their pain, to listen, to hear each other. And it was the first time that population had the opportunity to come together. And part of what we do in Healing of Memories is to build community. First time that they came together, tell their stories, they were heard, their stories were validated. They did not have to explain why they were able to do all that. But they never, at any moment, say, I want to kill, I want to murder. Part of what they were saying is we have to find a way to move on with our lives.
Tuesday night, we viewed a documentary that profiled several people who have been impacted by the following tragedies in the world: the Rwanda genocide, the violence between Israel and Palestine, and the Northern Ireland conflicts. We watched instances in which members from both sides of each conflict tried to reconcile with one another and find some sort of peaceful resolution. Afterwards, we candidly discuss what we thought about these stories and how it can influence us as peacemakers.
So it almost challenged me really to come out of my little comfort zone that I find myself in at times. There's this natural tendency in me, or in many of us, because we don't know and it's foreign, it's out of our comfort zone, to pull back and to run away instead of engaging, getting to know the other person. It just seemed each time it was mentioned when they recognized the basic humanity in one another, that they really weren't that different, that things began to change.
On Wednesday night, we featured a discussion between members of an interfaith multicultural panel, and they discussed how our faith can help us to persevere through horrible tragedies and traumas.
That which is forgotten, that you said it cannot heal, is very true. Because for some clients who I've worked with, the trauma may have happened when they were a child, and now they're an adult and they are still struggling with that same trauma, or fall into a pattern where there's a cycle of violence, and not really knowing why do they keep falling into this violent situation or this cycle, because the healing has not begun. They have not yet pinpointed or yet acknowledged that there was a trauma that happened and it needs to be brought out to talk about. Because it is only then when they talk about it and bring it out that healing can begin, and they can begin to realize the triggers that are attached to that traumatic experience.
In our efforts to help people reconcile, we might want to help them to really see more the suffering that the perpetrator is going through. That might at least provoke or their sympathy, and then help them then say, okay, well, if I will not forgive for the sake of for my own sake, at least I can forgive for the sake of the other person who's suffering.
The scapegoat mechanism and the cycle of violence, and so if you hit me and I hit you, and you hit me and I hit you, and you hit me and I hit you, pretty soon we're both a bloody mess, and the who started it is kind of a moot point. So how do we break out of that? And one of the danger signs is when we see someone becoming what they say they hate.
When we are suffering, it's very difficult to believe that God is with me, right? Even if I'm able to realize and recognize God's presence in my life, I will not be able to tell it at that moment, because my suffering, pain is stronger than the faith I have. But in that moment, someone brings love and hope to embrace the other person, the one who is suffering. That's where the faith and spirituality take effect. The suffering person's faith can be manifested, elevated. If these two are not experienced at the time of the suffering, faith will disappear.
Then lastly, as part of our annual 9/11 Candlelight Vigil, we decided to invite all of the first responders, the policemen, the firemen, the rescue squads of our surrounding towns to come and attend a gratitude reception. We thanked them for their service to our community, and we wanted to show them our appreciation because we've noticed that over the years, they are the ones who come every year to the vigil to remember their brothers and sisters who gave their lives on that day. This evening marked the culmination of a powerful week that gave us an opportunity to plant seeds of hope in our minds and hearts. It is important that we continue developing such programs not only for 9/11, but throughout the year. Our goal is to help people gain the tools necessary to be better peacemakers so that they can truly become beacons of hope, of love, and of peace.